Okay, welcome and good evening, everyone. Uh, Good evening to the audience. Good evening to everyone that's connecting with us. So today we're going to be talking about our scholarship journeys. And so, just to get a gauge of the audience we're having, can you please drop your name and so just to get a gauge of the audience we're having, can you please drop your name and where you're joining us from in the comment section, please? Thank you. Yeah, sorry, little technical glitch. So let's look at the comments. Let's see if we have people with us. Okay, see Peter from Malawi. Any more? Okay, I think Peter is joining us from Facebook. Do we have anyone in our LinkedIn audience? Anyone in our YouTube audience? Okay, I'm seeing a few people coming up. Tanzania, have Grace. Yeah. So I think I see more people joining. So just to start off, I'll let all our speakers introduce ourselves, and then I'll give a little prelude, and then we'll take the discussion from there. So, my name is Onyebuchi Kwanike. You can just call me Buchi. I was a Commonwealth Scholar for the 2022-2023 academic session. I studied an MSc in Transport Planning and Engineering from the University of Leeds. So, that's much about me, and I'm happy to be here. So I'll let Queen, can you do an introduction?
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Queen Chikwendo. I'm Commonwealth Chair Scholar studying climate risk and society at Durham University.
Okay, thank you, Queen. Next we'll have Chisum.
Hi everyone. My name is Chisom Sheremekun. I'm a PhD student studying bioinformatics at Makere University. I was a Commonwealth Scholar 2021-2022 academic year, and I'm currently a DAT scholar at Helmholtz Centrum in Munich, Germany. Nice to be here.
Okay, thank you, Chisum. Nice to have you. And last but not the least, we have Paulo. Can you do
Yeah,
introduction?
my name is Paul Samuel Kitos. I'm a Tanzanian, but also I'm a beneficial of Bank of Tanzania scholarship, the so-called Mwalimu Nyerere Memorial Scholarship. It's a merit scholarship which is always offered to only two candidates, the female and the male, for postgraduate. I benefited it in a master's level. Professional, I'm an urban planner by undergraduate degree. But also I do have two postgraduate degrees, which include the Masters of Architecture, and at the same time I do have Masters of Geographical Information System. Currently, I've made some effort to develop a platform for various young generations who actually are seeking for scholarship informations. So to date, we do have about 3,248 members who are actually from various countries, including Nigeria, etc. The aim of those platforms is actually to share information. Some of them will actually be joining today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paulo, for that brief introduction. So, I think we'll kick off the discussion very soon. So, if you haven't indicated your presence on the comment section, just try to let us know that you're here and you're listening. So, before we go straight into the discussions, I want to provide a little background on why we have decided to have this session about our scholarship journey. And the tagline, it's no single story. I think it's because a lot of us went through a lot of different things to get to our final destination of being awarded the scholarship. And we just want to let people know in practical terms what it means to have gone through that journey. Because uh, some people have this notion, or there's this myth that scholarship is reserved for some particular set of, or group of people, and we just want to let you know that it's applicable to everyone, and anyone can actually take this journey with us. We also want to provide a kind of step-by-step process of what we went through, not necessarily about the scholarship, but everything that led up to the scholarship and everything that went through the scholarship and probably after, for those of us that are no longer scholars. Just some of the lessons that we learned, some of the things we picked up, and some of the quote and unquote regrets that we had that we would not like the next generation to also have. So it's a kind of, this is what we did right, this is what we did wrong, and this is what we can recommend for you to do to get a scholarship, and also while you study during your scholarship. The whole point is we want to give the whole scholarship concept a human face so that you can actually tell that it's real people that actually get these scholarships, and there are a lot of things that happen in the background. And some people get the scholarships on their first attempt, while some other people get the scholarships on their fifth or sixth or seventh or eighth or ninth or 10th. I've met someone that got it on the 10th try. Yeah, so there's a lot of resilience, consistency, discipline, and a lot of other things that happen in the background, and we'll be talking a lot about that today. So I hope you do find the session useful and you can gain one or two insights from our stories, and then one day you also come to share your own story so that a lot of people can also learn. There is this thing that people need to usually understand, that the mistakes of our forefathers, we do not need to make those same mistakes. The learning journey is such that once a mistake has been made in the past, we should leave it in the past, and the solution should go into the future so that people can move ahead faster and stronger than those behind us. And that is how the revolutions and different technological and advancements have been taking place in the world, because someone goes through a rigorous process of getting a result and then simplifies the process for the next person, and then that person kicks off not from ground zero, but from ground 100, and then takes it to a new height. So, and that is one of the major objectives of this discussion today. So, without much to add to that, I would just say that you can drop your questions or contributions in the comment section as the discussion goes along. It's going to be a very informal and friendly discussion between myself and my fellow scholars. So I will just highlight some topics, and people will share their different views and experiences on how things. So it's basically a Q&A session or a panel discussion, whichever one you want to call it. But we will also take questions from the audience. So if someone is giving a point or sharing a backstory and you want to get a further clarification on what the person has said, you can put a question in the comment, and then we'll try to pick your question and add it into the discussion. So I hope that's okay. So my fellow speakers, I hope we are good to go now. Hope we are ready to share our wonderful stories. Yeah, so I'll also be sharing mine while I also prompt you guys to share yours. So I think the first thing that we're going to talk about now is going to be about yourself and the scholarship that you won. So I want us to give a little background about how you got to know about the scholarship, what you did leading up to the award, the kind of things that you did to prepare, the how you got the information, and different resources that you deployed that helped you to gain success. So maybe I'll start off by talking a little bit about myself. I got the Commonwealth scholarship on my basically my second attempt. My okay, yeah, it's my second attempt because the first attempt, which was supposed to be in 2020, I didn't complete the application due to various reasons. COVID is one of them, and the rest of them. COVID derailed a lot of my personal plans, so I was unable to complete the application in that cycle. And then in 2021, I eventually managed to get a completed application in, but obviously I received radio silence from the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission after that, and that was a I think I'll call it a wake up call, but at that point it didn't feel like a wake up call. Yeah, so and then I decided to try again in 2022 and I eventually got it. So but in between these scholarships, I applied for Chevening, I applied for I think I did MasterCard, I did a lot of I have a folder on my as soon as I could share my screen, I have a folder on my laptop that has about 40 different folder subfolders within it for different applications. I think I applied to the Swedish Institute scholarship. I applied for one in Portugal. I got a partial one in the US. But when you get a partial scholarship of, I think it was $54,000, and they're asking you to bring the main $27,000, I didn't know where I was going to get that from. So I kind of abandoned that one. Applied for group number of scholarships in Canada, Australia. I think I even applied in China. So it yeah, it was a lot. I think because between 2020 and 2022, I think that was the main focus of what I was expending my resources on. And some of the scholarships I know I didn't get them because I didn't have the right information at the time. I know the Swedish Institute scholarship. I got the information about it very close to the deadline, and it required the university to send an official transcript to them, and I'm not sure whether it got delivered to them within the stipulated time, among other things. And I paid for that transcript to be delivered abroad, so it really pained me that I wasn't sure whether it got to them or not. And then when I didn't get any reply, obviously I know that probably something else or probably the transcript or something else has gone wrong. But I think all in all, I tried to not be discouraged after a few days of maybe going back to going to bed frustrated and wiping some tears and then coming back, because most of these things takes time and resources. So some things you pay for. I think I remember buying a course that talked about how to apply for admissions in Canada because I wasn't very sure of what I was doing. So I had to find course that someone put online. And at that point, parting with that money was not very, it was no. I remember that the day I paid for that thing, okay, I don't know how to describe it, but I parted with that money. But eventually, I think the course was a little bit helpful. It demystified some things some misconceptions I had about application to scholarships abroad. Yeah, but I think the long and short of it all is that I managed to eventually get the right information and meet the right people, and eventually I was able to fine tune my application. So when I submitted my 2022 application and I looked at the 2021 application, even I myself knew that the application was not necessarily award worthy. I
Yeah.
could point out all the things that were going wrong and some of the points that were off target in those applications. So it's a continuous learning process. And I'm happy that at the end of the day, I came out of it not just with the scholarship, but with a deeper understanding of the process and the things that actually mattered. Because if I had come to study with the mindset I had back in 2020, I think I would have found it a little bit more challenging and a little bit more difficult. So I'll just stop there so that someone else can have time to share their story. So I don't know who wants to go first. Uh, let's have Queen. Okay, current scholar, so I'll allow you to go first.
Okay. Okay. First of all, I can completely relate to when you go back to your essays. So recently, I don't know what I was looking for, and I went to my through my essay, the essay I just submitted last year, and all I can say is well, thank God we are here. Thank God for the journey.
Mm.
Okay. I applied to Commonwealth Share Scholarship last year, and I got the information from the my scholarship journey actually started 2019. So I did. I applied to Mastercard. I applied to. There was there are some I applied to in Canada. There are also some I applied. Yes, the China. I also applied one in China. So 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 I belong to some groups, anywhere I see online, I see, oh, there's a group, a WhatsApp group for sharing scholarship opportunities. I join immediately. So through all those processes was, I think, one of the days I was scrolling my phone and I saw the Commonwealth shared scholarship. So that was honestly, that was really close to the deadline. So I think another thing that helped me was, I would say, was my past experience of having applied to the other ones. So I already had the student copy of my transcript, because if I were to start applying for transcript at that point, I know I wouldn't have put in that application. It was very, very close to the deadline. So I had to put that in. Then I would say another thing that also helped me to put in a strong application was, I had to go I had to go to YouTube. So I had to start looking for videos that had been done explaining the process. Um, there's this guy's videos, Victor Aboga's videos. They were so helpful to me. So I went through his videos. There he analyzed the questions, the essays for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. So I had to go through all of that. So I used his videos as my guideline, because I applied really late, and I would really not encourage anyone to do that. I applied really late for the program, because I got the information late too. So I had to use his video to do my application. Then yeah, then another thing I would say is having a good recommendation too. So I was able to, within that period of time, to secure references from people that had worked with me, and I would say I was able to pick up pick up like demonstrate my work, demonstrate my passion and all of that. So meanwhile, I've been working in the non-profit sector for the past 4 years now. So my last engagement was as a programs officer. So all these experiences were the things I had to put into my application that really helped me to put my best foot forward.
Just before you finish, so if I'm correct, this was your first time
Yes,
application.
this is my first time applying to Commonwealth Shared.
Okay, so just to put on the record, people do get it on the first attempt.
And yeah, people do get it on the first attempt. Yeah.
That's good to know. That's very good to know.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Chisom, do you want to let us know about your own journey? Just like summarize your journey for us in a little bit. How have you found the whole process?
Well, what I will say, my scholarship journey started. Well, I say my second year when I was in my masters, towards the end of my masters degree. So I wanted to,
That's your masters in Nigeria.
yeah, I did my BSM and MSc in UI. So towards the end of my master's degree, I knew I wanted to do a PhD. So, and I knew I wanted something different. So I had to start looking for opportunities to try to get better experience. It didn't work out right away because towards that time, during that time, I know I made so many applications. I can't even remember how many applications I submitted, but there were so many that, well, thank God for our journey so far. I knew in terms of preparation, I knew everything that I needed to apply for scholarship. So first of all was I was looking at US that time, so I wrote GRE. I prepared and wrote GRE. I English tests, TOEFL. So I made sure I got my transcripts and my certificates immediately. So I had everything that one basically needs for any any outside Nigeria application. I of course I had my passport way before then. So I started by applying to so many schools for was in the US for PhD, but of course that didn't work out right away. And like I've shared somewhere before, this those applications they're always accompanied by application fee, and you can imagine paying converting your savings in naira to dollar to pay for application fee. So I understood what Bushi meant when he was saying when he was parting with his hard earned money and 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 those stuff. So it wasn't really a pleasant situation. But well, I continued. But pending the time I was still along the way, I finished my masters and then I had to I continued searching for positions and all. Then I picked up a research assistant position in the hospital. So I basically help doctors to carry out their research, anything that has to do with getting manuscript, obtaining ethical approval, preparing their manuscript, organizing data, and all. So that was basically what I was doing. So I was still doing what I love doing, research. For at least I was not that. So I was still getting some money and then pursuing my application goal. So if it comes, fine. If it doesn't come, I'm still doing what I love doing. Well, in summary, I put in so many applications which didn't turn out well. So the story is actually long, so let me summarize it. The first time, okay, as a Commonwealth scholar, I've heard of Commonwealth scholarship, but the first time I saw it, I was like, when I saw it, what caught my attention was like, because once I see any application, the first thing I do is to go to eligibility requirements. And once I read the eligibility, if it's something I meet, then I always give it a shot. So when I saw that Commonwealth, they accept two because graduating with a second class lower, it's hard for you to see scholarships where um you have to get to one and above. So that was my major challenge, despite all the applications I made earlier. So when I saw that Commonwealth they accept two and above, I was so happy. And that was when I knew that the scholarship wasn't going to pass me by because this is one scholarship that meets my requirement, the tutor with a master's degree. So I gave it a shot, and at the end of it, I got it. I got the scholarship. Um, I applied for a split side scholarship. So I had my supervisor, my home university. While waiting for foreign abroad opportunities, I was advised to it's better you start at least from your local university before at least if you now get something positive, then you can now decide to quit and continue there. So I had to enroll at Makerere University. So when I saw the split sites, I met all the requirements. I applied. My supervisors gave me their support letter. I had my proposal, and it was successful. So after applying that same year too, I also applied for DRD scholarship. The first time I heard of it was from my roommate. So when we were doing our master, she applied. Like I remember her telling me to help her review her proposal or her application. I was like, what do I even know that I will read your proposal? And I still remember how I felt when she asked me to because I know I didn't know anything. Like I didn't believe I could make any inputs in her application. But I was so happy when she got the application. She's a very wonderful person. Like she's a scholar and she has so many awards. So it wasn't surprising when she got that and then she had to travel. Of course I kept in touch and oh she encouraged me to apply. I was like you're a first class student, me I'm a two. The first eligibility criteria in this call is that you must finish with 2-1 and above. Well, I didn't give it a shot for like maybe 1 2 years. So when I eventually started my PhD, when I saw it again, then I started to apply. Of course, I've already applied for Commonwealth, so I just thought, well, let me just put in the best I had. If I get it, fine. If I don't get it, well, let's see how it goes. So that was how I applied, and luckily I got both of them. I was awarded the scholarship. So that's like the summary of my scholarship journey. It's not complete. There are so many stories in between because my journey spanned a period of like 3 years
Yeah,
of
I think as
school.
more questions are coming up, more of the
Yeah.
story will begin to unravel. But
So
I think
that's like
it's interesting that you put out the point that even a to has a shot, because I know a lot of people always think that scholarship is for the first class graduates. But look at you with your tutor and you're having double scholarship. So congratulations.
thank
I'll
you.
allow Paolo to give us his own summary. You know, the thing about this thing is that when you start talking, you don't want to stop because there's a lot to say.
There are so many.
Yeah,
So I'll
thank
allow
you.
Paolo to give us his own rundown.
And
Come back.
general, what I can say is that for my scholarship journey, I can summarize that I come to conclusion that application for scholarship is a continuous learning process. That's the only summary that I can summarize out of all struggles that I've made. First, I do, as I said earlier, I do applied for Bank of Tanzania scholarship, which is actually a merit scholarship. Is judged much on overall performance of the students. Therefore, I succeeded to get it in 2014, and then I was to start my master's in 2014 to 2016, where I completed. From there, then I joined higher learning institution as assistant lecturer, which I've actually worked for 4 years. But then when I was working as assistant lecturers, as you know, it's a condition that you should also move to a PhD. Therefore, I started to search for a lot of informations to upgrade my level to a PhD. Then, unfortunately, in 2019, I was transferred to the government ministry, and that we call the Ministry of Lands, where I had administrative duties. Therefore, but during that process, at the time when I was working as assistant lecturer, immediately after completing my master's and Bank of Tanzania scholarship, I have attended so much uh, gatherings, including seminars, workshops, education export fairs, etc. That's why I started to put attention to various scholarship, including DAD scholarship, the so-called GET scholarship, Chinese scholarship, Commonwealth scholarships, etc. But then, because original and my mentality is more on academics, I started to judge myself. What can I do with all these information, scholarship information that I'm getting? Although now I'm not yet in academic. I'm outside in academic, I'm just actually engaged in leadership activities. Therefore, I decided to create several WhatsApp platforms and others so that I can actually allow young generation, especially recent graduates, to join and access those information about scholarship from different parts of the world. So while I was working as a in administrative positions, I've also set a time to assist those who were actually in need of scholarship. And what I've discovered is like what I said before, that a scholarship application process it is a continuous learning process. Because I discovered that some of the people they actually have good academic performance, and they actually have good experience, but then knowing what to apply, which program to apply, how to write the essays, etc., is also another knowledge that somebody will have to say. For instance, you can take somebody's application where you see the connection between maybe the objective during the study and the development impact. They are actually going in a different directions. So my experience as a scholarship beneficiary for the Bank of Tanzania, and also combining with the experience of assisting others to get scholarship like a Commonwealth scholarship, Chinese scholarship, get scholarship, and so on, I discovered that to get scholarship, first you need to dedicate that I want to get it. Second, you need to be ready to learn from failure. Eh? As you said, some others they get after third attempt or fourth attempt, etc. To mine, I just attempted once and I managed to get that scholarship. But then I tried for Commonwealth scholarship in 2019. I didn't get it. And then in 2019, I was transferred to another department, which is just to deal with other practice and not academics. Therefore, I couldn't continue to apply to attempt it for the second time and so on. But I have experience and I have met with people who actually have made second attempt, third attempt, and they managed to get that scholarship. But then in order for you to succeed out of your failure, you should first learn what was missing in your first application. And Queen actually said that she looked at the essays, application, and so on, and then she started laughing herself. It's the same even to others. If I take today the application form and I have a tendency of keeping records that I submitted in 2019 for Commonwealth for PhD, and after the lesson in 2020, 2021, 2023, etc., I'm looking at it and say, okay, maybe it's somebody who actually was not exposed to any information about how to apply for Commonwealth scholarship. I didn't know that the essays should communicate from the beginning to the end. So you may like to say in development impact, I've written about urban planning, and then you may go to maybe development impact 3, I've written something about disaster. So you find out there is a lot of mistakes that you make. But if somebody see it, he will discover that that person is not yet exposed to what is supposed to be. Therefore, just to summarize it, I conclude that my personal journey have revealed that to apply for a scholarship is all about a continuous learning process. Learning from the failures of yourself, but also learning from the success of others. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paulo, for that very descriptive. I think the takeaway is simply that it's a continuous learning process. And like, I'm happy when Queen said that when she looked at her essay, even now, even after being awarded, that as she has started school and she has looked back on what she has written, she is already seeing holes in the application, because that is what it is. I think the more you engage with the system, the more aware you are of exactly what's going on. Because even the people reading the essay, sometimes they look at your essay, you may not be as coherent as a perfect student, but they will see the potential in what you're writing, that this person can develop an idea if they are given the opportunity. And I think that is one of the prized factors. Wait, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say something there. So this is what I usually tell people is when we, especially in our journey using AI, so you just have to be careful because these people, yeah, we are putting our best foot forward, but at the same time, these people know that you've not applied to this before. For instance, if I'm to write about my program now, MA Climate Risk and Society, if I'm to write about it now, I will write about it very well compared to how I wrote about it last year because I wasn't in the system, just like you said. So I think people should also, when we are seeking perfection, at that first stage, I think people should also, I don't try to find the right
They are
word to
not,
use.
I think the way to say it is they are not looking for a finished product. They're looking
Yeah,
for a work in
so
progress.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you churn out a finished product, they may say that you don't have the potential to actually, will I say, expand your horizon because you've already gotten to a particular point. I think, yeah, I think this has come up before in some of my discussions with people. There's a way you write about something. If you write everything about something, then you don't have anything to learn in that area. So the person reading essay can begin to question, why does this person still want to study this when he has all this already? Because they are looking for your potential to study, your potential to learn, your potential to develop. So you need to, as they are reviewing, they're also seeing possibilities in what your application is doing, because I've reviewed some people's applications that as much as I point out the areas I feel they can improve, I also understand that the person applying should have some leeway to be flexible in what they want to pursue. And that also allows you not to drag the person's application or the person's essays into your own box, because everyone has their own unconscious bias. And so when you're reviewing, you also be careful not to try to close off the person's possibility or potential. But that's a very good point. And I've seen some comments here that I want to bring up. I think let me see. I think this particular one is a very good point that I want us to discuss. Okay, there's a part one. So let me allow us to read the part one. I graduated last year with a distinction on the graduate degree first class, having a CGPA of 4.9/5. I recently started looking for and applying for scholarships. Then the second part says, I want to ask if having such a qualification gives one more advantage to get a scholarship in the UK, and which merit-based scholarship is best for someone with a strong academic background. So I will say something very brief. I think, Paulo, you touched on it when you were talking about uh, some of the things that you talked about, and Chisom also touched on it as well. So I think the first thing that everyone needs to understand about scholarship, that every scholarship has an underlying objective that is aiming to achieve.
Yeah.
And for that reason, that underlying objective is the main focus of anything you are doing in your application. Some scholarships are targeted at minority groups, first generation graduate of their family, a black person, or third world country, developed or global south. Some are targeted at people that could not afford. So at some point in your application, you have to show proof of lack of means to access education and struggles that you've gone through in the past. While some scholarships are leadership based, that are just looking for the next generation of leaders in the next frontier area. And some other ones are based on development impact, or what we call giving back, something that the Commonwealth is general, because the Commonwealth of Nations is a remnant of the former British Empire, and it is a league of nations that are trying to help each other to grow. And that is one of the aims. That is why the Commonwealth always talks about development impact. So every scholarship has that. And the first thing you need to do is to find out what is the underlying objective. Apart from the eligibility criteria, you may be eligible to apply for this scholarship, but you also need to look at the underlying objective. Why are these people giving out this money? No one gives out free money, in my experience. Money doesn't go out for no good reason. The money is going out for a particular purpose. What is the purpose that this money is being expended for? And then your whole application keys into that. So your qualification may play a role if the scholarship is largely merit-based. But in a scholarship that is mostly targeted at a particular demographic of people, your qualification may not play a role, because if you are looking at people that are indigent or people that have a problem with accessing education, they won't expect you ordinarily to make a first class. So if you come with your tutu and you come with your story and you come with a lot of other underlying factors, you might be the ideal candidate that scholarship is targeted at. Both scholarships that are arranged by private individuals and the ones that are arranged by government bodies. So, although I don't know whether you want to add something to this.
Yes, I just wanted to add something. First, I would like to thank you for your good explanations. Like you said, first, having such kind of academic performance is one of the advantage you have. But then most of the scholarship, they actually also have some other criterias. Like if you go to the Commonwealth scholarship, they do have three main criteria for assessing a candidate. The first one is academic merit, and then you go to the study plan, and the third one is development impact. So you are more likely to score higher in academic merit but then somebody else could also do better on writing on the study plan, and somebody could also do better on indicating on how funding or sponsoring him or her something can happen in terms of development impact. Therefore, like you said before, knowing what's the objective of the scholarship, but also knowing what are the likely criteria for assessing candidates who applied for that scholarship is one of the important steps to understand whether you can succeed or whether you cannot succeed. For instance, for some of the scholarship, they actually based on experience. They always limit that somebody who is making an application should have at least a minimum of maybe certain number of hours which can be converted into years. For instance, even Chevening scholarship, it actually specifies that you should have experience of a certain number of hours on that. But also, if you go to that scholarship, they also indicate that somebody can have maybe 2 years of experience, etc., which can be proven, etc. But also, we have scholarship which actually they target people who have academic merit, but then at the same time they need people who have leadership, strong leadership experience, or they have leadership potential, like the get scholarship which is offered to study at Cambridge. They actually, if you lead the criteria, they want somebody who can have more impact in case they fund him or her. But also there are some other scholarship which are merit-based scholarship. In China, most of the scholarship that I see in China, they actually base more on merit. Even the Chinese government scholarship or the provincial scholarship and so on, I see them as more of academic merit. They look on the performance you have. They look on the academic publications, also what you have done. But most of the scholarship in Europe, they want more, they have something more than just academic performance. They would like to see your work experience, they would like to see your future goals that you have, they would like to see your leadership experience and the development impact that you are likely to see. I was observing Chinese scholarship form, application form. Just when you read it and see, you will see the focus of a scholarship. What is it? But also there are mixed scholarship in Japan. If you take those forms and they see even though you are asked to put, you will find that in most cases it's more of academic merit and what you can do. So it's a good thing having high performance, but high performance alone shouldn't make you blind to learn on the other requirement. Because somebody can say, okay, I have a 5 GPA, a 4.9 GPA. But if you do bad in essays, in personal statement, if you do bad in a study plan, you are more likely to score poor than somebody who have just an upper second. Thank you.
Yeah, so just taking on from that point, I want Chisom and Queen to comment on the all-round application, that's the all-round view of an applicant, because some people think it's just the academic merit, but there are a lot of other factors that go into having a wholesome application, like volunteering opportunities. I know some people use volunteering opportunities to fill work experience because you can also work for non-profit, and also things like extracurricular activities and maybe leadership opportunities, because those things are also integral parts of our application. So let me allow Chisom to go first, and then maybe we can come back to Queen and then move from there. So Chisom.
Thanks, Buchi. So, like Buchi have said, scholarship is not just for first class students. So one thing I learned quite late. That was during the end of my BSc, was to have a wholesome CV, and a wholesome CV is not just about having the highest CGPA, as Buchi has mentioned again. So there are several things one takes into account. First of all, your academic is your top priority, which students should concentrate on and make sure they have a very good grade. Then after the academics, they should have some leadership experience. Leadership experience is not necessarily like going for the student union president or going for a very high position. A student can just look for a very small leadership position, maybe within the department or within even their classmates, like within the class, something that's it's like a way of getting the experience without having to give out so much, because the higher the group of people you are in charge of, the more time it will take. So aside from the grades, students they should go for opportunities that will help them gain leadership experience, and this can be by maybe being the class rep or maybe being part of the editorial board in your department, like all this tiny role. And then if you're a Christian too, we go to church. I know the opportunities, small opportunities there to also show your leadership skills, because and also do what you like, because you are going to church, you are going to mosque, you are doing what you want, and then you are also gathering leadership experience. And next is volunteering opportunities. uh yes, some people can. I'm just talking as a student how you can get these things, because when you finish it's easier for you to have more time to get them. So for volunteering, you can choose to volunteer. There are so many opportunities to volunteer. I can remember my friend always when he organizes conferences, he always when he sees conferences that are organized by people, he writes them to ask them if he can volunteer, and he will just volunteer, be part of the conference, gets like it's like a way of attending conferences for free and getting something out of it. Like you don't even get to register, you have everything and even more. So those are like tiny ways to volunteer. If you're a graduate, you can choose to look for NGOs that align with your course of study and then try ask them to volunteer. And of course, in somewhere like Nigeria, if you're volunteering, you should not expect something back. That's why you should know the reason why you're actually volunteering, because you know what you're getting out of it. So even if you don't get any money or anything back, you know that you're just upgrading your CV. And for every volunteer experience or for every position, you always try to ask for documents to back up or to prove what you have done, even if it's not really a high tech document, but from just the paper stating what you did and all this from the people in charge. Just have the document and just the paper and just keep it somewhere,
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
try
something
to
like an acknowledgement letter can do that.
yeah, acknowledgement letter, but let it be head of that someone in charge of that place, or even if it's not in charge, someone they delegate to do that. Just make because most times we don't even ask for those things, we just go. But just make sure you get something like an evidence to keep to say that this is what you have done. Then aside from the volunteering, one should also aim to get have awards. So awards might not necessarily be like if you are not the academically inclined person, you might not be able to get the best graduating student or have the best in this subject, best in that subject. But maybe that there should be other little areas where one can get awards, because some people or some scholarship bodies also look at this, because they believe that if or an organization was were able to award you, that means they can also leverage on their credibility and
Mm,
also award you some of whatever they have to do. So just try to get award no matter how little it is. It can
yeah.
even be if it's a travel fellowship or just something that just because if you are conscious of this, that means you'll be on the lookout for these opportunities, and then you will go for them when you see them. And with that, you are developing a wholesome CV, which is very, very crucial when applying for scholarship, because it's not just your grade. At the end of it, it's not only your grades that will be put into consideration. So these are the major other factors that should be considered. I'll allow my other colleague to pick up.
Okay, yeah,
Maybe
thank you for those.
add I can just add where she has finished.
Okay, yes.
There is this scholarship in German, we called it CAD, KAAD, CAD. Yes, for CAD scholarship, it's actually offered it's a religious based scholarship, and it actually fund it target Christians, and even Muslim can actually apply. But then some of the documents that you need to prove that you have been a member of religious organization. And then in a secondary school and so on, we used to receive those certificates, but people used not to pay attention to those kind of certificates that you have been maybe member of a Christian society and so on. So one day I just visited on the online application, and then I saw that I have to prove that I have been participating in Christian activities. So the question comes that if I didn't take the certificate for my membership in my religious organization during secondary schools and so on, what else could I use to show? So, like what she said is that there are these little recognitions. You may find them like they are not useful, but when you are applying scholarship, you may actually require to get recognition to some institutions that you have been working with. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I just wanted to also say that apart from scholarships, I think in life in general, whenever you're applying for something, all these things come together to play a role. Whether you
Yeah,
are applying for employment, or you're applying for a position, or you're applying for a promotion within your workplace, it all comes together because these are the soft and transferable skills that people can evidence that you have to use that to leverage to award you this position. So I'm going to allow us to hear Queen's voice. I know I allowed her to go last because she's a current scholar, and I know that as she's also speaking, she's also jotting down some tips from from some of us. So, Queen,
Okay.
so
Well,
tell us about the extracurricular things you've done, and you can also tell us about the things you're planning to do now that you're studying at Durham, right? You're studying at
yeah.
Durham.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm a
So
Durham. Yeah.
Durham. So you can tell us about the opportunities that you've seen or the ones you're looking out for, and things that you may want to engage with as a current scholar.
Okay. First of all, I totally relate to everything Chisom said because that was my journey. So I started as the assistant class rep. So from there, I became the SUF, Vice President Student Union Government. From there, I transited into the development space through volunteering. So that was how I grew. So even not just for the scholarship, but for my career, that was the projection for my career, my job. So and opportunities I've seen so far here, being in the academic system, is what I want to touch on publication. So back back in my undergrad days, there was this perception we had about our end of the your thesis or your project work that we call it. So there's this perception we have about it that let me just do it and graduate. So people, you find out that people do go and get into, they do haphazard jobs, and to them it's just more just for the graduation. But there are times these things count when you have to, for instance, upload such publication. So had it been you have something that is tangible, that is related to related to your whatever you are looking out for, you can find someone to edit it for you, or yeah, and you can publish it, and that could be your first publication. So I find that the how we view that project, if we can start from correcting how we view our undergrad project work, I think that could also be something most of us can leverage on. So for the opportunities I've seen here so far, for me, I've seen a lot of opportunities around publication. Yeah, that is what I want to venture into. So, for instance, some of my assessments that I'm doing currently, some of them I find out that these are practical things. Um, these are these are targeted at solving, bringing, filling a gap, solving a problem. So, I hope to, I hope to turn these things into academic papers. So these things in turn, I want to also leverage on them to apply for funding for the PhD as we continue. So that's one opportunity I'm really really keen on doing. Then the second thing I'm also on the lookout for is conferences that I can attend and I can get to present. That is what are you going to present? The work that you have done. So these are two things I'm really keen on focusing within this
Yeah,
period.
yeah. Thank you. That's that's really interesting because you mentioned the undergraduate thesis, and it just took me back to the fact that I actually published my undergraduate thesis, and
Wow, you
and
did. Wow.
my supervisor was on my neck for it actually, and back then I didn't really know much, see much,
Understand? Yeah, me too.
but
My supervisor
but
was also on my neck to publish my, but I didn't understand what it was. I didn't
yeah,
do it.
yeah. But I eventually did it, and somehow, some way, when I was going through that process, I began to also see possible areas of improvement in the work and things that can be done better later. Those are the kind of things that come up when you start reviewing what you've already done. And the conference part, I think the conference part is something that is very keen that people should really look out for. I liked when Chisom talked about the volunteering thing. I have a friend that attends conference as a volunteer because they tell you to attend a conference. You are in international conferences. There's a conference going on in Belgium. They are looking for people that will volunteer and be on the organizing committee, set up the venue, so on and so forth. They will lodge you, they will feed you, they may not pay you, but they will lodge you and feed you, and then you will have free attendance. Yes, during the conference, you'll be standing at the back and other people are sitting down, but you're also listening to the speakers. You are
They
gaining.
also give certification.
Yes, and you will
Yeah.
hear, and you will and it will be easier for you to meet those speakers one on one because you either be ushering them in, taking care of their slides, and that's an opportunity to network. And sometimes
Recommendation
those
letter too. Getting
yes,
reference.
and sometimes those speakers are potential supervisors.
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
know someone that got a supervisor by talking to a speaker at a conference they were volunteering at. So these are some of the things that people don't know or people don't see, both locally and internationally. There are opportunities for all these things. I think it's just a matter of awareness. It's a matter of awareness. I think, first, when I was doing my masters, I volunteered as the school representative for my class, and I was attending all sorts of meetings in the university, and it gave me a kind of backdoor understanding of what exactly is going on in the system. How are things going on? I even had the one-on-one. One lecturer was giving me step-by-step detail of how they grade papers, the things they look out for in assignments and stuff like that. And I know that after that session, my marks began to improve. Yeah, so it is a kind of continuous process that, and some of these things people overlook them. Most people are usually after the target of let me study and get my certificates, just like especially in the undergrad, local undergrad thing. Let me do this project and graduate and walk away. And then some people come for these scholarship applications and they're looking for referees because they've cut off all ties with their undergraduate supervisor or something like that, which I would say is a bad way to go. Because if the easiest person you should be able to get a reference from will be your undergraduate supervisor. And if you worked well with him or didn't stress the person so much, it will be much easier for them to write you a recommendation. Because it may be difficult to get that of the head of department or the dean of the faculty and with the letterhead and all those things. But your supervisor can actually get a recommendation letter from your head of department on your behalf. So I think those are some of the things that people tend to overlook. I think let me post. There's a comment here. I think someone was asking Chisom when you were sharing your story before whether the scholarship you got is for a second master's or a PhD. So I think you can clarify, Chisom.
Sorry, I was on mute. So, did I get a second master? No, all my scholarships are for PhD. So, like I mentioned, I started my PhD in back home in an African university, Makerere. So that was actually what my supervisor told me. So there are several scholarships that sponsor students that are already registered in an African university to do their research in foreign university, or let's say abroad. So that's like an easier way if you can manage if it's something that you can manage, because most times I notice that these people, they have money to sponsor people that that won't really take most of their funding, just so that the funding will go round. So it's like Commonwealth split side. I was sponsored for a year. However, Commonwealth full time scholarship will be for 4 years. So the money that is to be used for four people for split side will be spent on one person for a full-time PhD. So these guys are, they want to sponsor more people. So most times what they will do is to have this um sub opportunity whereby people that have already started their PhD, they will just come over, do their research and go. So in some way, what I got was for my still for my PhD research. So I get to visit different universities and enroll there, do my research there while I am still registered back home.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. I think there's a comment here I want to address before we continue. So, encouraging story, I must confess. I don't know if the speakers can share their various experience at the FSB interview. What were the kind of questions being asked, and how can one be well prepared? So I'm guessing this is specific to Nigeria's situation. FSB is the Federal Scholarship Board. There's a session tomorrow about preparing for the FSB scholarship, FSB interview for Commonwealth scholarship. So I would say you should watch this space. It's still on this YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, wherever you're tuned in from. Tomorrow being Sunday, there's going to be a session specifically for FSB, a kind of FSB mock session. So you can just wait on that and get a whole lot of experience, because you'll be you'll be joined by, I think, two people that attended the interview and were successful, and they'll be able to give a step-by-step process of everything that transpired. Yeah. So I want us to discuss about something a little bit, let's say something a little bit different now. How has getting the scholarship impacted on your life so far? Will you say that it has been pivotal in the way your life has been shaped, or the way your life journey has moved? Or do you think that it has had the minimum impact since you got the scholarship? Is there anything you would like to change going back, or do you think, yeah, just like share your stories. So, Queen, do you want to start, since you are still on the journey? So I think 2 months in, how do you see it?
Okay, I was muted. So I'm really glad I I was awarded the Commonwealth Share Scholarship. First of all, what it has done for me is the other day we were sharing some jokes with my colleagues. We were like, every time we are now putting on our critical thinking cap. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing for us. My my writing, my thinking, my analysis, the way I see things from a different perspective. So I think moving on to my career, I think that would really count. That would help me in my career. Then the opportunities too that are available for me, a whole wide range of opportunities. Like, first of all, starting with your colleagues, the people, your classmates, those people are, they are resources as well. Your your lecturers, someone like my academic advisor. I've I've had this I'm gradually building this relationship with these people. So it's a learning process, but at the same time, I can see how much it has impacted my my life. Yeah, and this is something that I would also take back to my career, if I want to continue on that pathway, or if I want to switch, so I can still find my foot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Paulo, do you want to you said you were in academia and you've
Yes.
shifted out of academia. So
Mm.
how has the scholarship impacted both
Yeah.
your career in academia and your shift? Do you think it's still relevant as you've shifted? Do you think it's you're still benefiting from the things you learned
Mm.
in both the application process and while on the scholarship?
Mm.
So let us know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely it's very important. For me, scholarship is actually, I can say in summary that it have transformed the way I'm thinking about myself, but at the same time, the way I'm just thinking about the society. And in that context, in the first place, it improved my performance in academics. And that is because it was a full funded scholarship to the extent that it covered all costs ranging from tuition fee, research fee, accommodations, etc. Therefore, it's a recognition that without that scholarship, I wouldn't be able to perform that better. But then the second one is research and the publication. With just my master's degree, I have managed to publish 8 research papers. So 3 out of my master's thesis, but at the same time, after publication of 3 papers out of my master's thesis, I started to collaborate with other researchers, academicians, and we do research, we publish, and so on. So at the same time, I wouldn't have that experience of research publication if it was not for that scholarship, because to have a component of capacity building. They call people who are experienced in research or who are experienced in certain field. They come to give you insight how to go. So I can find it being transformative in my capacity to research issues in the society and at the same time to publish in a way that I share knowledge with the other peoples rather than having my own. But at the same time, networking. During my scholarships tenure, we actually had a lot of workshops, which it combined the different universities, some of them from South Africa, etc. Therefore, until today, we are collaborating. One of my friend who was at the University of Johannesburg, he's actually taking a PhD in urban studies now. And one of the cases in Dar es Salaam, where I collaborate with him to assist him information so that he can complete his project well. Therefore, at the same time, leadership experience at the age of 31, then I was able to serve as assistant director at the Ministry of Land, Housing and Human Settlement. And as you know, that position, being assistant director, it means your responsibility for the whole of the country. And you know what I had to do? I was tasked with implementing of control of unplanned settlement and so on. You see that kind of a headache. But then you can find that the scholarship itself, it aimed to transform people into leaders. And then after some sort of 3 years since graduating, then I managed to save for almost 2 years in that positions. And there are changes that actually I've made, which I believe that is the same capacity that I received during scholarship that I have managed also to save in that position. And not only that, I have been engaging in various leadership positions. For instance, for the scholar, we have 72 scholarship beneficiaries for the scholarship that I took. And I'm a chairman for those who benefited from that for 3 years, from this year to possibly to 2026. So I believe that without that scholarship, all those couldn't have been attained. At the same time, capacity building to young generation. I have engaged with young generation, urban planners, architects, quantity surveyors, and we have platforms which we actually struggle together to make sure that we provide information to young generation for employment, for scholarship, for research, etc. And the majority of them actually they are fighting for it, which is I believe is one of the impact that the scholarship has given to me, and now I'm impacting a society as a leader, as a mentor, as a researcher. All of them are the outcome of that scholarship. And lastly, I have actually been able also to conduct some sort of a consultants. As I said, I'm an urban planner, I'm also a GIS expert. Therefore, I have managed to participate in various national level projects. For instance, we had disasters in various places like Kagera and so on. We have ongoing national projects within our countries. All those I've been engaged as an expert and so on, which similarly I say that without having that kind of scholarship, I wouldn't be able to perform better. Therefore, I wouldn't be able to save people as a mentor, as a researcher, as a consultant, etc. Therefore, I find that scholarship are useful, and some of the scholarship they actually have component for extra capacity building of you out of what you are studying. Therefore, I find it is more useful, especially for young generation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, let me just also add to the conversation because I know that everyone, most people that are tuned in, they want to get a scholarship or they are making applications. But I think it's also important to be aware of the fact that the scholarship is not just about getting the degree. Personally, I would say you should make that 50% of your goal for getting a scholarship, getting the degree. There's much more that you can achieve apart from getting the degree. When I was studying last year, I know my class, we had about 33 nationalities within my class. So at least now I know people from at least 33 countries. And it's not just about having 33 nationalities in your class. Did you interact with them? Do you have their contacts? Can you still communicate to them after school? Those are some of the things. So whenever extracurricular activities are engaged or come up, try as much as possible to participate in those things. Build those connections with people because you don't know where your next opportunity will come from or where it will take you. And everyone needs a soft landing. I put it that way, everyone needs a soft landing. And most of the time, the people you know are kind of the network that carries you to where you are. I mean, even the current job I'm doing is also a factor of some of the people I talked to in school and some of the things that I learned as well. So it's a kind of wholesome experience. If you have like an alumni body or something like that, try to also be engaged in this and also sure that you're also part of the full process that comes out of whatever they want to achieve. Those things are usually the little things that count in the end, the little things that count in the end. Because if you're doing a competitive exercise like a scholarship application, it might be something as small as is a connection that you have to a particular thing that will make you stand out when you are submitting your application or when you're writing up your essays. Because when you're giving examples of things that you've done in the past, those are where those examples come from. So it's not necessarily just about uh, getting a degree, I would say. The degree is wonderful, but I think the knowledge that you get and the network of people that you get are the next big things you should be looking at while advancing your career. Because if you know a lot and you don't know a lot of people, you won't go quite very far because you won't have the network to express what you know. So it's one of those important key factors that we have. So I think we've touched a lot about the journey and coming full circle and after you've gotten the scholarship, and Queen is talking about what she'll be doing as the scholarship is going forward. Yeah, Queens, don't be angry. I'm singling you out because you're a current scholar, and I'm always happy when I meet current scholars because even some of the things I wish I did when I was studying, I can always see myself trying to tell them, do this and do that. When I studied, I went to the Netherlands as part of my study. It was in school. They took us to Netherlands in June to show us some of the transport systems that they have in the Netherlands. And that was my first time going to the Netherlands, obviously. It was one of those opportunities. Everyone didn't go, everyone in my class didn't go, but because there were limited slots and some people thought it wasn't important. But coming out of that experience, I think half of the things I was learning in class back then were just flying at the top of my head. But after spending 1 week in the Netherlands and seeing some of those things they were talking about in full action, I think everything began to settle down and come in. So now I can easily recall some of those important things. I was
So
discussing with
that's
one of my I was discussing with one of my colleagues at work, and we were discussing about personal development, my career, where it's going to go. And by the time I started talking about a lot of the things that I learned in school and on the trips, and also some of the things that I learned by attending some Commonwealth events, he started looking at me and asked me, are you sure you just started this way? Are you sure you've not been here for 5 years? Because the way you're talking is giving someone that has gotten a large amount of experience. And I think the density of that experience came from engaging in some of those activities. So, Queen, you wanted to say something?
yeah, I wanted to say that that's the thing with experience sharing. So I always appreciate it when people who had gone through a process can come out to say, "Oh, this is how it was. This is my experience. This is what I would have done better." Or so these things also guide other people, so that we are trying to figure it out. Yeah, but we are really like largely counting on the experiences of the people who had gone before us.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, as we are rounding up, let me just, I think someone put this question in the comments. So, I just want to say this. I think everyone here is accessible, and
Yeah.
our name, I took down the banner so that our names can show on our different pictures. So I think the easiest way is to connect with people online.
Definitely.
I'm not going to say I'm going to be your mentor or anything like that, because I don't have a formal mentorship scheme, and I'm still learning myself. But if you send me a connection on LinkedIn, or send me a message with a question or with something that you're facing, and I can try to work around, or we can try to work on a solution together. And I guess it's the same for all of us. I think it's part of the reason why we're on this platform, is to make ourselves available to the public. So I allow the names to show. So you can just search everybody's name on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way to connect with people officially. So search on LinkedIn, send us a message, and we should be able to get back to you. If we don't personally have your solution, at least from our network, we should be able to find a way to get a solution to your problem one way or the other. So it's one of the
Definitely.
good things you get from attending this platform. So if you want to message me, I'm speaking personally now. If you want to message me, you can just send me a message. Hi, I attended a so session where you said we should connect on LinkedIn. Once you send me that kind of message, I know, yes, this is someone that we are sharing a certain type of vision with, and then it's easier for me to, rather than, because a lot of most of us, they get different connection requests, and not everyone is willing to put in the work. Someone can send you a connection request and ask you to write a scholarship essay for them, and I usually ignore those kind of messages, because I don't see how I'm going to tell your story for you. So, Queen, you're laughing.
Yeah, I'm also putting this out for people who would like you to send your essay to them or your personal statement to them. I don't know. I have my reservations about that because these are my stories. I think it's enough if I give you some guidelines on how you can generate yours, and I'm also willing to um, read it. I work on it with you, but you saying I should send you mine. I feel that that is my personal story that I might not really want to share with you. So you find out that some people tend to. And another thing we are also avoiding is that some people might copy and even copy your name.
Mm.
Yeah. So those things. So just to round up, I think we'll go around the room. I want to ask, what part of the scholarship application did you find? Let's go with the most difficult, and then we can come back to the easiest. So which part of the application? Because we're all different and we all have different strengths. So what I found difficult may not be what you found difficult. So just think about it. What part of the application do you think stressed you the most, or you found most difficult from your own end? And I'll allow Chisom to go first because we've not heard her voice in a while. So Chisom, you were having some technical difficulties before. Welcome back. Let us know what you applied. You're on two scholarships. So let us know. Was it the same difficulty you experienced on both ends, or was one different from the other? So
Well, thank you, Buchi. I'm on one scholarship now. I'm no longer a Commonwealth scholar. So, well, for Commonwealth, I think the most challenging part was writing the essays because I'd already started my PhD. I knew what I was working on. I almost have my proposal or like idea of my proposal. So writing it was not an issue for me. It was writing the essay, and writing the essay is not an easy work.
any particular essay?
The all the developmental impact essay,
Um,
because what I did was I had to search and search. I had to search, like I had to put in my best. For me to get it, I put in my best, and it was my first attempt. So I really did background check, YouTube, Google online, trying to find as many information that can help me answer those essay questions. And I believe my input paid off. And then the second challenge was finding supervisor. It was not really a very big challenge per se, but but of course, finding supervisors straight up is not always that easy, but it's not always that very easy. But it was quite easy for me. Maybe a bit challenging earlier because some people will tell you they oh no they cannot supervise you, and then you don't even get response from others. So for Commonwealth, those were my most difficult aspects. Getting references were very easy. Like I people I've worked with my supervisor, like it's more like there's no gap in communication. So these people I can always send them a WhatsApp chat to always follow up. I tried avoiding using people I could not have direct communication with, because that has a way of hindering how the communication goes and how you can get your reference letter in lines and meet the deadlines and all. So I try to avoid that. Then for my DRT scholarship, well, I tell people that there's nothing there. Like if I could write Commonwealth, if I could do Commonwealth application, then it was nothing to me because it's just like basically filling out.
after 11 essays from Commonwealth.
I know, right? It was to me there was nothing challenging about applying for. Well, what I would say was challenging was finding a supervisor, but it wasn't challenging because it was the first group I wrote to that responded to me. I now had to wait for the particular supervisor to come back from vacation and all. So all these things, they are also it's a way. There is a way you write to people. Like my supervisor taught me how to write to other supervisors for you to get any response, because there are ways you would have I would have drafted my email and then I don't get any response, but he taught me how to do this, do that, how to make it easier for anyone that looks at your email to respond to you. And I got response in my first trial, so I didn't really have any challenge. Well, another part of that is packaging all your application and all your supporting document, everything, and then sending it to Germany. I didn't find that challenging because I've done several applications in Germany where I sent my documents, and also I was grateful because I wasn't in Nigeria then, so I was grateful for the people that were there to help me run around, get the pen signed, because your reference letter has to be signed and stamped, no electronic signature and all those things. So those guys were able to help me run around, get these things, package them, send them, collect it from different places, and then ship them off to Germany. So to me, it's that was not stressful. Commonwealth, it was just how the mental exercise of there was no chat GPT, so you had to think and think. But I'm glad I was able to pull that off too. And then it paid off because at the end of the day, it gave me more clarity about myself, about my research, my future plans, because you can't write Commonwealth essays without having those things set. So those were the difficult the challenging aspects of the application. I hope I
Okay,
answered your question.
thank you so much for that. Paulo, do you want to let us know the most challenging part for you?
Yeah, first I will answer it based on my experience, but then also experience of helping others. The first one is that first, depending on the type of a scholarships, you can experience differently. I have categorized like we have a direct application scholarship. These are scholarship which actually you apply directly when you're applying for a degree program at a university. It's the same informations actually are going to be used for assessing a funding for you. So to that, I find that they are simple to do because at the same time you are applying for a degree program, you are actually similarly completing informations for the funder. And that's like the GET scholarship, the Hong Kong scholarship, and so on. But then we have scholarship which actually they have like double application. It's like you have to apply separate to a university, but at the same time you have to apply separate to the funder. That's the one that I find it to be more challenging because you need actually to manage these two situations together. And sometimes you need to be ahead of the funder in applying for the degree program so that you can get documents like admission letters, like supporting statements, etc. So in my case, for my scholarship, it was the second one, double application. You have to apply for a university, and at the same time, you have to apply for to the Bank of Tanzania for funding. And it actually happened that I had no admission letter, and the deadline was actually almost closing. You know what I did? I was to go to the school dean and say that, okay, I have applied at this university and I want to apply for the scholarship. I don't have admission letter. When I went to the director for postgraduate, he said, no, we cannot issue admission letter yet because they have to be approved by the admission office through the meeting and so on. But then when I went to the head of department where the master's program I wanted to take was hosted, he told me, let me just write a letter personally as a head of department to ensure the funder that we are sure the candidate will be admitted. It's only we are waiting for the formal meetings so that the candidate will be given admission letter. And it was good that the letter actually served the purpose. So the most challenging part is that when you have a scholarship which require two process, you apply to a university separate and you apply to the funder, you are more likely to get some sort of a challenge, especially if you didn't do it earlier. If the application for the funder start maybe on October 7 to November 7, it means application for degree program or communication with the university should have started earlier. Because if you make them in the similar process, actually it have proved to be very challenging. But other challenge, what I see is that the essay part, it have already been explained. This is a bit tricky because you have to understand the purpose of a scholarship, you have to understand the assessment criteria, and you have to understand yourself. Whom do you want to be, and what do you want to do? So it's one of the area which I think is more tricky, and maybe if in the future we want to conduct more online discussions like this, we can actually find to dedicate in these areas. People can write words, but very few who can write a story that communicate from the first story, the second, the third, and the last. This is what I have discovered. Even myself, when I apply for Commonwealth, if I read it today, I just myself laughing, saying, okay, I didn't know anything that I was doing. But then for the PhDs, I think study plan is also a challenging part. But for someone who have been prepared, for instance, now Commonwealth scholarship have closed. If somebody target for the next year, and he start to prepare now the study plan, communicate with the supervisor, whatever case, you are more likely to see easier things later on rather than waiting for the announcement of Commonwealth. And then you start searching for universities and so on and the potential supervisors. I find that is to be more difficult. And supporting supervisors is also a challenge. I tried to apply one scholarship in New Zealand, Victoria University. I actually wrote a lot of things there, but the response was actually very poor. And some of the universities, you can even write emails, attach documents, whatever case, even attach link for the paper you have published and so on. You may not even get a response. But then I decided to go into YouTube. I found out there is a way you need to communicate to the professor. There's a way you need to communicate to doctor potential supervisors. There's a way you need to write a first email to a person who doesn't know you. Eh? You cannot just rush and say that, okay, this is my research proposal, whatever case, and so on. So there is something also can be done here, because even in Commonwealth Scholarship, for those who I've been communicating with, they have managed to submit the application, but the most depending issue is confirmation of supervisor, supporting statements, admission letter. Admission letter is not an issue, but the supervisors, you communicate with them, but then the response is less to to what somebody is expecting. So to me, I find it, whoever want to apply a scholarship which have double process, you apply separate to university and to the funder, then you should be prepared to work much faster, because the two processes may not relate to each other, but actually one process affects the other. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think while you were talking, that I had a small, I'll call it a small flashback. But first, let me also say that YouTube is a very powerful resource for people.
Mm,
Most of the information that you need is on the internet, and most of the time you just need someone to help you, will I say, digest the information you get properly. But when you go on YouTube and because sometimes you Google and you read a lot of things and the text is not really sinking in. But when you
yeah.
watch a video on YouTube and someone is talking and maybe you're seeing someone's
Mhm.
face or you're hearing the voice, it might be easier for you to relate. And three
Yeah.
different people can say the same thing in three different ways, but you understand
Mm,
one easier. So if you go to a YouTube channel and it's not coherent and it's not suiting your purpose, try to look for the same answer on a different channel. It might also help.
yeah, definitely.
Now to my flashback. I remember when I was applying for, I've already said that I applied for Commonwealth Scholarship twice, and the first one did not work out. But I remember that when I did the first one, I applied for the admission. So I want to move in that direction now. So I applied for the admission at the University of Leeds, and I got a conditional offer. And one of the conditions was English language tests, IELTS, and the rest. And at that point, I could not afford IELTS because I'd spent a lot of money paying application fees in Canada and the US and the rest of them. So IELTS and GRE were now becoming problems. So when they asked me for IELTS, remember I was hoping that my Commonwealth scholarship would come out properly that year. So I had to write an email to them telling them, look, I have I'm from Nigeria. Our official language is English. I studied English language from primary school to secondary school. I have a West African Senior Certificate examination. I passed English. I attached it. I said after that, I moved on to the university and I studied engineering for 5 years and I studied it in English language as well. Here is my degree certificate. Here is the letter from the university stating that I can speak proper English. Then at the end of the email, I also added, also to prove my proficiency in English, I have constructed this email myself. And as you can see, the structure of this email speaks for itself. So please take all these things into consideration and consider my application. And then I left it. And then I think after 2 or 3 weeks, I just went to university portal and my conditional offer has been changed to unconditional. They didn't really reply my email, but they've already gone to change it to unconditional offer. I just went, I checked that. So I said, okay, that's good. Then the scholarship did not come. Then I have to send them another email saying, please, I do not have funding for this. But can you either provide funding for me or defer this admission so I can try to get funding next year? And they replied me and said that their window for internal funding had closed, because Commonwealth is a very long process and you can continue waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting till the next admission cycle. So when it was apparent to me that Commonwealth was not coming forward, I now wrote to them and they said that the internal process has already ended, so I should try again, defer the admission. So I started my next application with a deferred admission letter. So for those wondering, it's also possible. You can use a deferred admission to apply. So when the process started, and then I applied to the second application, which was a better application in my view. But still, because I didn't want to leave anything to chance, I now emailed the university ahead. I said, look, I have applied I have this deferred offer, which I got last year, and I couldn't take it up because of funding. Is there any funding that you guys are willing to give me to take up this offer? I didn't tell them I had applied for Commonwealth. So I forwarded that to the admission team. I think they forwarded the email to someone else, and then they forwarded the email. Eventually, it got to one of the professors in the school who is in charge of admission of students in that program. And he replied me and he said, thank you for your email. It's good that you have gotten this place and we are looking forward to having you at the University of Leeds. This is a link to the possible funding that we have. There's a local funding that pays so percentage and this other one that pays. You can apply using these links. But also we are aware that you have applied for Commonwealth Shared. So when he stated we are aware that you have applied for Commonwealth Shared, I was like, okay, that means they are reviewing my application. It was pushed forward. So I got that kind of a little bit of confidence from that statement that it was pushed forward. I applied for internal funding. I got the internal funding, but I was still waiting on the Commonwealth. And then eventually the Commonwealth sent me an email that I was on the reserve list. That is another thing. That's the another thing that the thing about the Commonwealth. Your heart will almost always be in your hand when you're applying for this kind of thing. So when I heard that I was on the reserve list, I started thinking, reserve list. What can we do about this reserved list? And then I said, okay, I will continue applying for other opportunities. I will continue praying as usual. But I think this is one thing I want to also put out. So I joined a forum where we were potential people waiting on Commonwealth. It was a potential. And when they were doing some activity it was on a WhatsApp group, when they were doing some activity on the group, I was participating. I put in my details, introduced myself. I applied to this program, and I'm on the reserve list. And then someone reached out to me, and it was a lady from Uganda, and she told me that she had applied for the same program and she had been nominated for the Commonwealth Shared for that program. So she's the one holding the nomination while I am on the reserve list. Then and then so we began to discuss, future aspirations. She's also applied. She's also making multiple applications. I'm also making multiple applications. So we started exchanging information and talking about different. So whenever an opportunity comes up, I send to her. Whenever she gets an opportunity, she also sends to me. Eventually, this lady got another scholarship. I think the Commonwealth Masters. She got a third scholarship, the same program, and eventually got a PhD for the US, which is the one she eventually took up. So she's in the US now doing her PhD. And so she dropped the Commonwealth Shared and I was upgraded. and the funny thing here is that she had the Commonwealth Shared and we were discussing, and I don't know how to, in your mind, you're feeling, is there a way that both of us can get this? Because she's a very brilliant lady and you could see that, and she has a lot of experience, far more than myself at the time. But the thing is, when she was also applying for her US thing, I was also helping her out. This is not much of a competition, but it's one of those things because I wasn't feeling that she was in my way. But it's kind of, even if I don't get the scholarship, I can get something else. There's enough opportunity for everyone. So I remember the day when she got the US, she got the listing, and then it was remaining the interview, and we prepped for the interview, and she went for the US visa interview, and she got her US visa. And she was like, "Oh, she's going to the US." I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." So when next week, I got my upgrade from Commonwealth. I've now been upgraded to the candidate for this program. And she was already congratulating me before the upgrade came because she knows that she has rejected. Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say is, you need to connect with people, network, build those connections. Different opportunities come in different ways. This is something that when I saw that reserve, I never thought that I will meet the person who has gotten the scholarship, and I never thought that anyone was going to drop it for me. But I was just having a little sliver of hope. But at the end of the day, she got something better because she wanted to do a PhD. And that was what she was yearning for. She did the Commonwealth application because she got the opportunity to apply. So when you cast your eggs, throw them in a lot of baskets, spread them around so that you can always have different options and opportunities. Don't look at any opportunity like it doesn't matter or that it doesn't fit you or it doesn't fit into your plan, because your plan can change as you move ahead. So I always tell people you lose nothing by applying except the energy you spend to apply. Most of these applications are free of charge. So if you can take your time and your energy, make your application, it will result in something better. Even if you don't get the scholarship you're applying for, you get a lot of knowledge and experience from the journey of applying for the scholarship. So I will circle back to Queen to tell us the most difficult thing, and then we'll have maybe another round to give our final advice to potential applicants, and then we'll call it. So, Queen, you can
Okay.
let us know the most.
Okay. The most difficult thing for me applying for the scholarship was getting a course and getting a school. So for my undergrad, I did English language and literature, and I was working in the development space. And I know I wanted to make a switch in my study. So it was really difficult for me to find an MA program that has some elements of sciences in it. So that was my top difficulty, finding a school, finding a course. So that's one. Secondly was, yeah, everybody has mentioned answering the essay questions. The part that I did not understand in the essay question, answering those essay questions is the part of, like, why did you choose this school? And why did you care? Reason being that you'll be wondering what would you put out there so that it will not sound cliche. So not everything people have been putting on. How can you do it better? Something like that. So that was the part I would say, after writing all my other development and part essays, that was the part I was really stuck with for some time. Yeah. So that's the thing. And I also want to encourage someone. I get this often. Now I moved from English language and literature, and now I am in geography. So you just have to, it's not really easy. You just have to find your way around it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's an important point about I think they call it pivoting from one point, from one career or one career path to another. So a lot of people think that if you did a bachelor in XYZ, you must do a master's in XYZ. But it's also possible that you do a master's in ABC or DEF, depending on your drive. And universities are willing to offer you admission because I think undergraduate is seen as a foundational learning experience. When you do a postgraduate, there's a lot of flexibility around it. So just to call it a night before we go, because I think we are almost at the 2 hour mark. So, final words for our audience or for applicants. But before we do that, I have this comment here. So, Observers Watch is asking for a list of uncommon scholarships that people applied, because I think our Paulo has mentioned KAAD. So, I think if we start to list a lot of applications here. We're going to take a whole night, but I know a lot of information exists on the web, and there are forums for this kind of thing. So if you reach out to any of us, I'm sure we can share the kind of resources that we have. And
Yeah.
if you also do your own personal research, you might come across one that I have never heard of before as well. So it all just takes time and dedication. Some of the scholarships I applied for are scholarships that I've not heard of before. And even when I ask some people, they've never heard of it before. But when you start looking for information online, there's loads and loads of it, and there's loads of opportunities. So now we'll go to final words to the applicants, and in no particular, we'll go back to Queen, who just finished speaking. So give the applicants your parting words and what you think
Okay.
they should do moving forward.
Okay. First of all, writing applications generally they are really tasking. They are time like you put in, you invest your time, your emotion, your money. So they're really tasking. And when you get an email saying we regret to, it can be daunting, it can dampen your spirits, but at the same time, please continue. I believe that the the light the light at the end of the tunnel is closer than you might assume. So, and to add to that, I was also a reserve candidate for Commonwealth Shared. So that's the thing. So I
Oh,
totally
my
relate.
fellow reserve candidate.
I totally relate to what you just said. So please just keep on doing the work and putting your best foot forward.
Yeah, thank you, Queen. Paulo, your own parting words for our audience.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. First, I think all of you who are interested with scholarship, you should invest time to know the scholarship you want to apply. And what I mean here is that you should know what is it, what are the targets, what are the eligibility criteria, what are the conditions to apply, who is eligible, is not, documents needed, timeline for applications, etc. To me now, I know it's common that Commonwealth can be open maybe on this month to this month. Maybe that scholarship can open on this month to this month. Maybe Chinese scholarship they start on this month to this month. So having this prior information before time of applications, they save your time, they save your energy, but they also increase your efficiency in the applications. Number two, preparations of documents. There are some common documents that you can be requested by any scholarship. The certificates, the transcripts, the reference statement, passports, traveler passports, etc. Those are the most common document that you should have. You shouldn't lose scholarship by not having such kind of a common document, which are actually can be requested by any kind of scholarship. But then at the same time, I encourage people to apply multiple scholarship. You shouldn't focus only maybe on Commonwealth or only maybe on DAD or CAD or maybe on GET scholarship because there is a time factor here. Your intention is just to start. You want maybe a PhD, maybe you want a master's. Time is also important. Most of the scholarship, you apply this year, but then you are supposed to wait until next year is when you will have to go for studies. So if you apply maybe only Commonwealth this year, it means if the outcome doesn't favor you for Commonwealth, you will have to wait again another year. So depending on your focus, please try to explore as many categories of scholarship as possible so that you apply maybe DAD, you apply Commonwealth, you apply Chinese, you apply well, like what many other scholars have said. It helps you to save time, but also it gives you experience. You may find that some of the experience of applying Commonwealth you have actually obtained by trying to apply maybe achieving scholarship. So trying different kind of scholarship, it actually build the capacity at yourself. At the same time, I think we need to learn from our own failure, but at the same time, we need to learn from the success of others in scholarship. It's not good to hide, share with others, go to YouTube, participate in the discussions like this, it will help. But then to summary is that application of scholarship, I still emphasize, is a continuous learning improving process. It's a continuous learning improving process. Losing today doesn't mean tomorrow you won't be able to get. So thank you.
Thank you. Chisom, any final words for our audience?
Well, Queen and Polo have said everything, but just to reemphasize on what they said, just for those that are looking for scholarships, you have to plan ahead. Like these scholarships, you don't just wake up and decide to apply. The chances of getting it that way is very limited. So know what you want and then know the what they need and then prepare well ahead. That's the only way, well, not the only way, but it puts you in a better position um to get the scholarship. Also speak with people that have been awarded the scholarship, and I believe they will have one or two things to tell you. If you are looking for list of scholarship, just go online. There are so many scholarships. There are so many groups sharing scholarship information here and there. You will see opportunity desks. I know the scholarship positions. If you follow them, you see their tweets. There are so many scholarships out there. So just know what you want. Once you know what you want, it's easier for you to narrow down your search, and it will help you to plan better. So just keep giving your best and keep trying. One day it's going to click, but don't give up. If you give up, all your efforts will just go in vain. So just keep pushing. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you. Just a formal way of giving that Nigerian undertone of now who give up, fuck up. So once you give up, you are the one that shot yourself in the leg because you are the one that ended your journey before they ended your journey for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think we've come to the end. The only thing I'm going to say is mm, uh, this journey is not a straight line. They are usually is usually if you're a physics student, you know the sine curve. It's usually that way. There's the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs, and you continue to fluctuate between up and down until you finally get to where you're going to. And even after school, even after getting the scholarship, while you're in school, there are also ups and downs as well until you graduate. And it's just one of those things in life. So I would say manage your rejection
Mhm.
uh, experience. A lot of people will put a lot of effort into making one application and then the outcome comes out negative and then they decide that it's not worth it. It's not worth my time. These people are not, they don't want to actually award. People don't really win these scholarship awards. It's just you, maybe you have to bribe somebody. A lot of things have been said. But the truth is, I think one of my friends posted something about it on LinkedIn, and I shared the post. Someone was listing all the scholarships he applied to one by one, and no, all the no's he got. I think it was 47 no's and 48. Number 48 was yes, and that's the scholarship the person is on. So you got no the first time, second time. So you can imagine the way that journey comes when your email inbox every day you're refreshing your email, checking your spam folder because you're looking for a response, and you get the common tagline: "Thank you for your application, but we are unfortunately we are sad to inform you. You know, there's a particular language. Once I open, then when I open my email and I see, thank you for your application, I start crying
We regret.
because I
We regret.
I
I
know
doubt
that
you are the one who is preparing them.
once they tell you thank you for your application, it's followed by bad news. If it's good news, you say congratulations in the beginning, or we are pleased to inform you. Ehen. So I've known how to spot those emails, even from the notification bar. I already know. So when I see it, I just go to my notebook and mark X and then move to the next one. So you have to get ready to get those no's. I'm not trying to be the devil or anything, but the truth is the truth. You have to be ready to get the no's, and you have to be ready to accept the no, find out where your application is lacking and try to fill in that box. All it takes is one yes. The day you get your yes, you will forget about all the no's. No one will even hear about all the no's anymore. You won't even remember that there's a folder in your laptop with 45 different subfolders for different application documents and blah, blah, blah. You won't remember all those things. You won't remember all the money you spent either on internet service because you are watching videos on YouTube or downloading materials or subscribing to different platforms to get all those things. All those things usually wash away. I try to think about some of this. I know I can't list all the scholarships I applied for anymore unless I go to my documents to check because I can't remember all of them. But I do know that I got many no's before I got my yes. And at some point, I was like, "Are you sure I should continue doing this? Are you sure this is for me?" But then I said, "What? I have nothing. I have nothing else. I just keep trying, and then you finally get it." It's the same when if you don't apply for a scholarship, what do you want to do? Maybe you start applying for a job. When you start applying for jobs, you also get a lot of no's. If you don't do that, you start a business. When you start a business, you also get a lot of setbacks. So
Yeah.
it's all part of the process. So it's just something that you have to learn to deal with, build that tenacity so that you can get to the very end of the journey. And at the end of the day, we always congratulate people that saw things through to the end. So if you want your congratulations, you have to persevere to the end. So on this note, I'm going to call it a night. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We have some comments. People are appreciating the platform. There's this one, Chisom, she's thanking you especially, I think, for answering her question. And we have David saying that says the session is very informative and motivating. The recording for this session will remain on YouTube and it will be there for a long time. So you can always refer back, or if you have friends that need to hear this discussion or hear this conversation, you can also send them in. Send them the link to this recording so that they can watch it, they can gain the insights, they can help to build their mental capacity, and you can use it to encourage yourselves and keep going. End point of everything is so that we can all be happy in the end. I will be so happy if I have a lot of colleagues from Africa, from Nigeria, from various countries that are all scholars. Then we can collaborate. We can solve the world's problems faster. We make changes. And it's always easier to do these things when more people are involved. And once more people are involved, it's easier for us to get to our final destination. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank all our speakers. You guys have been wonderful. Guys have spent 2 hours talking. I know it hasn't been easy, your busy schedules and everything. So I just want to appreciate all of us. And I would like to say thanks for all our viewers for viewing in, for even despite the time zone difference. Thank you for being here. We look forward to sharing your stories. So if you reach out to us online, we'll reply to you as soon as we can. And then we can build and collaborate together on different things. So we'll call it a night here. Thank you and good night.